Calpurn Piso here. Oh, sorry, wrong picture.
Hi, there's a better picture. Calpurn Piso here. Albert, you're great. You said it like it is. You actually said the truth. But many people ignore the most obvious thing. We produce thoughts, thinking with our brains. A lot of people don't realize what atheism means. It means a, without, and theos, a belief or a God. In other words, no God. But the interesting thing about it is that if the brain is defective, then of course delusions and irrational ideas are accepted as fact. This happened with the schizophrenic people. I had a friend that suffered from a mild form of schizophrenia, and he believed that he had some implants in his brain from aliens that were monitoring his thoughts. And he believed it. It's like religious people. Religion is a form of mental illness. It's a form of schizophrenia. And actually, neurologists don't know what causes a lot of mental illness. They're still working on it. But religion, all religious beliefs accept delusions are reality. So it's a defect. It's a defect in the brain. You were brought up as an atheist without belief, which is great. I wasn't. I was conditioned under Christ-psychosis, and I learned a lot. But then I grew up. It's just when a little kid believes in the Tooth Fairy and Easter Bunny and all these different delusions when he's young, accept them as true. And the boogeyman also, his fears. Eventually he gets educated, and then he started to differentiate between fantasy and reality. Well, religious people do not. They're like mentally retarded. They grow up believing in these fantasies. Religion, fairy tales is actually fairy tales for adults, religious beliefs. Then we go back to one of the most virulent strain of this mental illness, and that's Christ-psychosis. And we can go back to the origins of Christ-psychosis, where it started 4,000 years ago. The Egyptian religion. Here we see the ankh. It's a cross. It's actually a symbol. It's a dualism between the organs of procreation, which is, of course, the lady's vagina and the male penis. So Egyptians didn't know biology in those days. The penis was equated with the sun god, with the rays of the sun. They didn't know what the sun was. It was the rays gave life. And the rays of the sun were also equated with the male organ of procreation. In the Egyptian myth, the creation myth, the god Atun and the goddess were in a chaos, in a vacuum. There was nothing going on there. And then the goddess stimulated the god Atun's procreating member, and he masturbated, and he came, and when with his milky fluid, he created the universe and created his mother, and his mother gave him birth, created everything. That's beautiful. We have, much later, the same idea with the Pharaoh Akhenaten. He he created the idea that the sun was everything. And he rejected all the gods of Egypt, and he brought up actually monotheism in a way. We know that in the Egyptian religion, thanks to the Book of the Dead, which anybody can see with their own eyes and actually lump it. Christians can actually lump it because they have all the same myths and then some. And you can see it in the tomb of King Unas. Anyway, here is Isis. And she is feeding her son Horus, which is actually the sun god. This is what the idea of the Virgin Mother and Madonna came from. Creator God in the Egyptian mythology was also equated with a cross, with the symbol of a cross, which is all over the world. People believe in the sun, they see the sun as a cross, which is a symbol of victory. And also equated with the penis, the god of creation. And here we can see it, after a couple thousand years later, in Greece. And here is a phallic Apollo, which is also equated with the sun, which is a cross. Apollo was represented as a very beautiful youth. And one of his attributes was healing. He was the god of healing. That's the reason you can see a snake. The snake is equivalent to a penis, the god, the sun god, and also healing. And this is the reason the Christians adopted a snake as on a cross as a symbol of healing. We know Asclepius, one of his sons, god of healing. Now we realize that the sun, the penis, the creator gods are one and the same. This is a mosaic of the god Apollo with the rays of the sun behind him. It's a halo. This is a Roman, the Roman god and the Greek god Apollo were the same. They were, in Roman and Greek mythology, the sun god Apollo is the same, exactly the same. Then the Lord and Savior Julius Caesar, they gave his blood for his people, and it was actually considered a god, and temples were built to him. Here is represented with the Cetus Julius, the comet of Caesar, the one that appeared in his funerary games in the year 44 BCE. Here you can see it in one of his coins, the Cetus Julius. That's where the Christians get their cross. Cross was never a symbol of tortures in ancient Rome. There is no evidence. It was simple, a symbol of victory of the sun rays. That's what a cross is. Here you can see the symbol that many use. The doctors, use the symbol of Asclepius. It's a snake. That comes from Apollo. Here we have a coin representing the Cetus Julius again. This is the comet of Julius Caesar that was 360 years later when Constantine created Christianity, mutated the cult, turning it into this. This is the symbol that the Catholic Church uses, which is nothing but a mutation, a corruption of the Cetus Julius, of the comet of Julius Caesar.